I'm Kayla.
I'm Alyssa.
And this is the Christie Club. So, Alyssa, what did you dream about last night?
Oh man, I wish I could remember, but I guess I just didn't dream. How are you?
So I've been having dance recitals.
Oh yeah.
So I was on stage performing, and that's all I can remember. But, you know, anytime there's something stage or acting or theater, that's a red flag.
Oh.
In Agatha Christie's book.
Oh, really? You don't say.
Oh, and speaking of dreams, we just read the short story, The Dream, by Agatha Christie.
Today we're going to be discussing Agatha Christie's short story, The Dream.
The Dream was first published in the USA in the Saturday Evening Post, October 23rd, 1937, then in The Strand, February 1938. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Again, another early one.
Yep.
So, this short story deals with a case of what seems to be a suicide. First, Poirot is invited. He's consulted on the basis of a very peculiar dream that recurs night after night, and it freaks the heck out of this guy. And
Millionaire Benedict Farley.
Yes.
Yeah.
The millionaire, in his dream, kills himself at a very particular time in a very particular way. And then, what do you know? It comes true.
So, our suspects, obviously our victim is millionaire Benedict Farley. And we also have his wife, Miss Farley, his daughter, also there's Mrs. Farley, right? And then Miss Farley. Joanna Farley. Then there's the secretary, Hugo Cornworthy. I like that name.
Too.
The butler, I didn't write his name, the doctor, and the inspector.
The butler's name is Holmes, and I freaking love it. I love it. I'm like, oh wow,
Where did I not catch that?
You made Holmes the butler. I see where you're going. Mm-hmm. Okay,
that's really funny. And then there's the doctor and the inspector. Mm-hmm. And I think we'll just go straight to the murderer.
Yeah.
The murder was
the secretary. Gasp. Hugo Cornworthy and the wife.
And the wife, 2 murders.
And what do you know? The wife married him for his money. She's only 8 years older than his daughter, which she seems very uncomfortable about. And I kind of like that in Christie's books. Usually the daughters are not very happy that their parents remarried some younger person.
Yeah. So, what were some clues? 1. When he meets, the millionaire, he says he's very stagey, which I think is funny, because anytime something is stagey, or there's an actor, or it's in a theater, somebody is only acting.
Oh, I see the deception.
Anyways, the other clues are, they meet in the secretary's room, not his own room.
Yes.
And he won't show him his actual room.
Yes.
For some reason.
As soon as that happened, I was like, that's sketchy. That's immediately
sketchy. There was a lot of sketchy stuff. Mm-hmm. And then he asks for Poirot to bring the letter and give him his letter back, which Poirot was like, why? Huh?
Yeah, I was a little thrown off.
That was sketchy.
Too.
And then the other thing is Poirot keeps asking about his glasses for some reason.
Okay, did you ever believe that the whole ruse about the dream?
I don't know. Yes, because for most of the part, did you catch the murderer?
No, definitely not.
I thought it was just gonna be a suicide.
I was like, yeah, but maybe it was something. I feel like there was definitely something else, probably, but. I was I kind of accepted, like, the dream, and I was like, maybe, and the fact that he never left that room, like, ever, even when
Me too, that's what I thought.
The reporters came, he went to his door, but he never left it, and then, also, the fact that when Poirot left the room, like, as soon as he had closed the door, it was like his hand was still on the knob, and then his mind cleared, and he's like, oh, I gave him the wrong letter, and I was like, maybe there's something about that room, maybe there's some sort of, I don't know.
Oh, like you were onto it.
Gas that, like, is messing with their heads and kind of making the guy a little delirious. So I was kind of going in that direction. Obviously, I was wrong. Very wrong. No superstition here. Christie proved us wrong on that point.
Yes.
But let's see. I did find it interesting that he has a fear of cats, and Poirot is often described as a cat, or compared to a cat.
That's true.
And then also, there was a line somewhere, I was looking for it, when Poirot, oh yes, I see. When he is finally inspecting the room that the man dies in, he says, or the narrator says, not even a cat could have gained access that way, meaning through the window. And I was like, again with the cat, what is with the cat? And then he looks down and sees something black, and I'm like, is there something with a cat? Did a cat kill this man? What is going on?
Kind of.
So,
A cat.
Sorta, yeah.
The cat was an accomplice.
Cat in the hat, man.
The vibes are immaculate.
Okay.
Because I just thought the beginning, I really liked the, not storytelling, but
I like how it began with, like, the scene setting.
Yes, with the setting. That's what I meant, in a description. And usually I skip over descriptions and settings, but this one I couldn't, because it was too good, especially about the house and such.
Yes, I found that actually really interesting, and I was kind of wondering, because in certain things that she says when they're discussing, like, the dream about suicide and how he's like, I couldn't be a failure, I couldn't have, it's not that I'm denying that I'm a failure or whatever, like, I have all this money, how can I not be happy? And I was like, that could be a response to kind of, like, the rise in consumerism that came with, like, and the gaping hole that it leaves in the soul, that came with industrialization, the Industrial Revolution. And I found it interesting that she begins her story setting the scene with a reminder of how London was urbanized and how, like, not the whole world, but, how certain cities were urbanized and how factories kind of took over. And how
this house is kind of in the middle of some weird place with a factory and something else on the other side.
And now all we have
is shops.
Factory wall, and just kind of, like, this scene for kind of... It does kind of take your happiness away.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very interesting. So
vibes were great. A+ on vibes.
Sure. Very appropriate. Not necessarily happy, but yeah, very appropriate. So that kind of made the notion of suicide a little bit more realistic. So that's unbelievable.
Yeah. That's what I totally thought it was suicide.
Yeah.
My next note is intrigue. That's all that's written. There was intrigue. Oh, my third note goes, hey? What I mean by this is, when he talks to the millionaire who's not actually the millionaire, it is actually the secretary posing as the millionaire.
Yes.
But anyways, he says hey, like, all the time. And in my brain, I couldn't figure out, like, what that meant. For, like, I know it's to signal a certain way he kind of talks. Yeah. But I couldn't get it. He was just going, like, hey.
Yes. That was how I felt when I read the Sherlock Holmes books. Because he would be like, hello, with a question mark. I was like, is that a question, sir? And then when I listened to an audiobook, it was like, hello? What's this here? And I was like, that's what you mean.
So I didn't get it. It goes, hey? So you're Hercule Poirot, hey?
Hey, so you're Hercule Poirot, eh? It's kind of like, I was thinking it's more like A, but then that would be E-H.
Yeah, but I think it's more like that. Anyways, in my brain, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, and I was like, that doesn't sound necessarily like a millionaire. Only in that millionaires tend to have this certain character, especially in I guess Christie's book. Yeah. I don't know. There's always this very, like, assertive presence with millionaires. Yeah. This guy was off his rocker, but he was still hanging it out. Very guarded, but and that could come across as assertive. But I
guess that is a clue. It's not actually a millionaire, so it helps.
Yeah.
That, but I was thrown off by these hays.
Yeah, you can always tell if they're a rich man. They tend to always have that sort of, like, authoritative air. Yeah. And, like, all this power comes from wealth, and I was like, you can really kind of get that feeling from Christie's books.
My only other notes are how to survive an Agatha Christie book. Don't ever write Poirot a letter. That's what's written. Okay. Because the people who write Poirot a letter he never hears back from them again because they die.
Well, okay, that's been true in the last several short stories. Not in every case, though.
That's true. But anyways, that is my pro tip.
Good advice.
My other pro tip is don't be an actor or don't act.
Yes, the actors tend to be...
murderers.
Yes.
And then my third bit is reveal is great. I thought it was very good when he, like, says, I know who the murderer is, and everybody in the room is like, what?
Yeah, I love how she described each face with a different... Yeah, I love that.
That line was good.
That was really good.
And then my only other thing is the words I liked. So I did not know what a mount bank was. I thought that was fun. And then she also used the words tomfoolery, which needs to be used more.
Yes.
And hanky-panky.
That made me crack up. I was like, what?
Exactly.
Also, yeah, the way that the millionaire, quote-unquote millionaire, spoke, kind of, at first I thought he was, like, American for some reason. Maybe it was all the haze.
I thought he was American, too.
Yeah.
But then I actually looked back because I was like, he's American, right? He's not. It's nowhere does it say that.
Yeah.
But I think...
Oftentimes, though, the only millionaire, or the only Americans in her books tend to be sort of millionaires. Or, like, they're partying it up in New York for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, what Americans are in Britain? I guess my only other thought would be that Agatha Christie, there's a lot of, like, with the dream, there's like, okay, maybe it's hypnotism or something like that. And I think in most of Agatha's books, that's, like, people think it's that, but it's never an answer. That's never the answer. There's always, like, a very logical answer.
Yes.
So it definitely is not in the she's not in the supernatural.
Yeah.
There are supernatural elements, but there's always a logical answer for them.
Yeah.
Which is why I was like, when I was first reading it, I was like, what is she gonna do with this?
Yeah, that's true, because it does have you on the verge of believing.
Yeah, this
they say
weird
in
thing.
X-Files, I want to believe, but Poirot proves this wrong. And yeah, I really liked that in this one, it felt like we had a greater access to Poirot's mind. Like, it felt like the narrator was a little bit more close to Poirot's point of view.
Though there weren't very many funny parts of Poirot.
Oh, yeah. He was a bit more kind of to the point and, like, kind of straightforward. But I liked it was weird that he forgot something, that he made an error.
Yes!
And I was like, that's good, though.
That's so...
Making him fallible, making him human. But I was like, that's probably what really, like, irked Christie when she got tired of writing him. Like, he was just too perfect, too many perfections, always trying to set things straight, literally, and, figuratively. And he always succeeded, and he just has, like, this perfect...
But it was surprising for him to make a mistake. I was like, that's gotta be on purpose.
I was like,
at
first
and
I
it wasn't.
I was surprised. I was like, really? But I love the reason that he wrote that note to the laundress. Like, she always messes up my collars. Oh.
There you go, yeah.
I was like, that's perfect. I don't know if this is always the case, but Poirot tends to bill his clients after the completion of the investigation, so we never really know how much he's making. And we never really know... I mean, sometimes they always, like, offer, like, a big sum because, like, finding the solution is, like, very valuable to them. But I was wondering if it was maybe, like, a tactic that Christie was using to kind of remove any possible suspicion of, like, financial motivation on Poirot's part. Because he's all about, like, justice and morals and ethics.
That's true.
And I really like that. And it's also kind of a relief when everything else seems to be so deeply motivated by money and financial gain. And
and Poirot is not part of that.
Level-headed, and he's more. He's not even like too. He keeps himself emotionally distant, but usually his motivation tends to come from more of a soft, emotional.
It's always space. For the innocent.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah. So I really like that.
I can't believe I didn't catch that Holmes was the butler's name.
It was
so dumb.
You're not dumb.
But that's so funny because she did that as a
she did that on purpose.
On purpose, exactly.
For sure, 100%. And how he kept saying like he's such an unusual butler.
Can't believe he knocked.
I know. The audacity. And this concludes our episode in which we discussed the dream.
Catch us again on the Christie Club.